Hello and welcome to the Silly Point podcast. Before we start, Rika, let's take at least 10 seconds um, and sit in silence and try and recover from the final of the World Cup because it has been a very, very tough time personally for me after going through
for
what.
for all of us after the emotional roller coaster that we went through. Um, the league stage completely unbeaten, and 10 matches unbeaten, and
Are
then
you heartbroken?
no, not really. I think if you ask me if I'm heartbroken, no, I'm sad, very sad, but not heartbroken because the kind of performance Indian cricket team delivered. It was match after match of acceleration, match after match of producing magic. And I think I will go back and see many of these matches of the World Cup, despite what the end result was. And it was similar to 2003
Yeah.
that we played so well, yet we couldn't. 2003, that match against Pakistan, I think I've kind of seen it plenty of times now. Similarly, in this edition, the match against Australia, I would say the first match,
Yeah.
when we were 2 wickets down, and from there to recover and then win the match and set the tone for the rest of the tournament. I think match by match, and then when Mohammad Shami came for the first time against New Zealand, that 5 for 54. I think incredible performances.
Yeah.
Hence, if you ask me if I'm heartbroken, no, I'm not heartbroken, but definitely sad that that the law of average caught up with us. In the end, we were actually talking about law of average much before the knockouts.
Yeah.
I think around the sixth or the seventh game,
Yeah.
I remember, in one of the websites, that Virender Sehwag also had said, "एक match तो हारना बनता है," because when they won the World Cup in 2011, they also lost one match and then went on to win. So
Yeah.
yeah,
When you personally ask me, was I expecting the kind of cricket that India played in this tournament? I would say no, because going into the tournament, I don't know, there were a number of things that were not really working for the team. But then, after that first match, suddenly, just like me, a lot of people, a lot of fans, they basically started getting this belief that, look, there is something special going on with this particular team. And you never know, this might turn out to be the year that India finally wins an ICC tournament. Unfortunately, we faltered in the last match, but it is one of those days, one of those matches that went against us. But like you said,
by the way, Usman, I have
heartbroken,
to tell
heartbroken,
you.
heartbroken, and sad. I'm both.
uh, By the way, Usman, I have to tell you, these chairs actually feel very comfortable. During the World Cup, when I was sitting on these chairs and anchoring, I never felt that these were comfortable chairs because I was just so nervous with each match and each passing moment. I just thought that I was sitting. I literally had the feeling of sitting on the edge, and never actually thought these studio chairs are so comfortable. They
These
are.
are actually nice. These are actually nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Now that you have said it, this
yeah.
actually feels comfortable.
I mean, for the World Cup, I really did have the feeling of sitting on the edge because I was so nervous, and
We all
I
were.
think
We all
rightfully.
were. In fact, everyone that we were talking to, and whenever we would have any sort of conversation with people in the office, outside of office, every time it would just feel as if we were confident with the kind of performances, but we are also a little nervous that, oh, what if something goes wrong? What if something goes wrong? And that is probably how, like, people watch sports and
And
people
my
play sports.
God, I have
It's
to tell our viewers that I'm so glad that this tournament is over because when you are a sports journalist in a country like India, um, I mean everyone thinks that it is their right
and you
to
you basically letting you basically letting
ask
your
for
inner thoughts come out right
ask
now.
for tickets, and
How many
every
people? How many
morning.
people did? How many people asked
I
you for
mean, I
tickets?
haven't counted. I can give you my phone to sift through my WhatsApp messages. How many people on a given day, not just how many
You know
people
what I did?
on each day ask for tickets. यहाँ का दिला दो, वहाँ का दिला दो, and then you know, out of politeness, I had to say, look, I don't really get into black marketing of tickets. My job is
Imagine the
to
kind of money that you would have made.
no, but then that's not my profession, and I don't need to do that. And my
But you know
profession
what?
is
What I personally did was, I basically when Virat Kohli posted that story that please don't ask for tickets, whatever, that story when he posted that, I basically took a screenshot of that and I posted it on my social media handles. I made sure that everyone sees it, kept it open, made it public, so that everyone sees it. Nobody asked me for the tickets yet. At least at least 50 people texted me, messaged me, whatever.
I mean, actually, the day Shreyas Iyer was playing his first World Cup match, and that's in Mumbai, I was feeling bad for Shreyas Iyer. I mean, imagine the guy is playing his first World Cup match at home, and on top of that, because it is at home,
Of
what
course.
kind of queue would have been outside his, hotel or wherever, his parents' house? So much of clearly, I mean, if the pressure was on you and me, clearly what
Imagine the kind of
kind of
pressure that would have
pressure the
been.
Indian cricket team, each of these boys would have experienced that tickets, where are the tickets?
But see, from disappointment to I don't know how to call this. Um, what do you think about the series that has happened right now? India has won the T20
I'm still
series.
pinching myself to believe that there has been a series in India's won.
Exactly.
I mean,
Is there too much? Is there too much cricket when it comes to India specifically? I mean,
I think
we were playing cricket right before the World
it's
Cup.
the
We were playing cricket right after the
bilateral,
World Cup.
it's the FTP, and I mean, the FTP really is chock block. And if you see over the next 8 years cycle, even then you will. So there is one ICC event every year.
Yeah.
It would at some point probably it will feel like you are not missing out on a World Cup.
Yeah.
I am very keen to
But does
see
it
how
does it
things pan
but does
out
it
in
also
2028 Los Angeles
yeah
Olympics.
yeah but I was basically talking to a couple of friends, and the discussion was whether because of so many tournaments, especially ICC tournaments and World Cups happening every other year, whether it is a T20 World Cup or a 50 over World Cup, is do you feel the quality, as in the prestige that a World Cup brings, uh, is it losing, or what do you have to say about that?
It's really tricky. It's a tricky call. Whether you call off so many ICC events and just have like one event every 4 years, because cricket, of course, is played in three different versions.
Yeah.
So you have the ICC World Test Championship final. You
Yeah.
have the ODI World Cup. You have the T20 World Cup happening now. I think for me, going forward, what perhaps I will look forward to is cricketing Olympics.
Yeah.
You know how then that team shapes up if the team winning the World Cup goes on to win the Olympic Games or not, because that is the pinnacle of sport.
Yeah.
Okay,
But the sad part
then
is only 6 teams
probably
are going to be
yeah.
participating in it.
So also, if you look at shooting also has many World Cups a year.
Correct. Yeah.
World Championship every 4 years. Though cricket and shooting, I mean, you really
Can't compare.
can't compare. Even in chess, you have these marquee tournaments, and then you have the World Championship. So I think cricket needs to have some sort of a World Championship sort of a
For the bilateral series, you
thing.
mean?
Uh,
Or ODI bilateral series, you mean?
no, I mean instead of a World Cup, there's
Okay.
one World Championship, and that is something the custodians of the sport will think which is the best format to have a World Championship in, if which would be like the best team,
Hmm.
you know. And I mean I'm not too sure, but I would imagine that one day cricket could be that format to have a Test Championship in.
Yeah.
You knock off the Champions Trophy, you have the World Cup, you have the World Test Championship, you have the Cricket World Cup in ODI, Cricket World Cup 2020 World Cup, and then maybe a World Championship every 4 years. That's an ODI World Championship. That then truly establishes one big team or one big team.
And
uh,
that basically is the culmination of 4 years of cricket that is being played, whether it is a bilateral series or whether
Also,
it's a
kind of,
tri-nation series,
yeah.
etc.
Also, right now we see that in ODIs, a lot of the games that were not really well contested. That's because
Yeah,
the gap between the teams were huge. So if there is a plate and elite sort of a format where the competition is intense, because at the end of the day, fans like you and me would love to watch sport because of the element of competition. But if competition isn't there, then over a period of time, things will get diluted and no
yeah,
one is going to watch.
yeah,
Even though cricket, it'll take very long for Indians to disconnect from cricket or the subcontinental fans,
yeah.
because the love is absolutely visceral.
It just goes
And
beyond the idea of
yeah,
sports in
yeah,
the
and it is,
subcontinent.
and
So
it's
yeah,
passed on. It's a generational
yeah,
love story.
yeah.
I got
Just
this.
like football in Europe.
Yeah, I got this love for sport from my forefathers. I have passed it on to the generation. Like, it's a visceral love
Correct.
story that's handed down the
Yeah.
generation. So I don't think people in subcontinent will disconnect, but however, competition will get diluted unless there are some measures really taken to kind of up the level of the teams or split them up into elite and
Yeah.
play.
Talking about the next series, which is the South Africa series. India is going to be touring South Africa. There are there is a lot of talk about giving chances to the young crop
Mhm.
that is developing. We saw a couple of them here in the India Australia T20I series. I want to talk about some of them, but going forward, and this is the World Cup year, like we discussed. Going forward, where do you see that transition happening? Is the transition already happening? Are we looking at
So,
very
Osama,
a separate,
transition
different
is a
team right
word
now?
we've been using again year on year. So, in a sports team, I would say transition is constantly happening. So some players going out,
Who are the
another
players?
batch of players
Who are the
coming
players
in.
that you think
So,
are not going to be playing in the T20 World Cup?
so I don't think for sure Virat Kohli will not feature in the World Cup.
Okay.
Mohammad Shami will not feature in the World Cup. A couple of them, I mean, generational players. Ravindra Jadeja, I think he will, but a lot will depend on his fitness. Bumrah, of course, back in the peak of his fitness. He'll have to remain
Yeah,
as fit
yeah,
as he is. Of course, we have the news that Rohit Sharma is going to
yeah,
captain in the T20 World Cup, and that'll probably be his T20 swan song. Though,
yeah.
I mean, again, nothing can be said in sport. Yes, I mean, there will be a generational. We have already
So what you're
had a
saying is
generational change.
specifically for Rohit Sharma. What you're saying is if India wins the T20 World Cup, Rohit Sharma is going to announce his retirement from that format.
I'm not saying that. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar didn't announce his retirement immediately after winning the World Cup. Um, Osama, I think for every athlete there comes a point when you wake up in the morning and you feel like you have
Done your
powered.
bit.
No, you have powered off, or you
Okay.
have just uh, you know you just kind of unplugged yourself
Yeah.
from the what should I say, from the system. The switch happens in moments. The switch happens in a very, very suddenly.
Yeah.
And all top athletes, it's not just about Rohit Sharma, across the globe will tell you
Yeah.
that it is a momentary decision
Yeah.
that led them to cross over to the other
I was
side.
thinking about an example in football, and I was listening to a couple of interviews of former footballers or whatever, and these people basically they basically said that one fine day I did not feel feel the love and just that passion to go out and perform, and that is the day I knew
Absolutely.
that this is it for me from professional sports, professional
And the
football, and
switch really happens that one fine day. It doesn't have to be. a decision taken over a period of time. Though
But do you
having
think that I mean that works for the cricketers in India? I mean,
No, I
when you
was
take
just
when you
coming
take
to that because
yeah,
it's a commercial decision in many ways also whether you will be allowed to pull the plug or not. That will depend on a lot
allowed
of
to
no,
allowed
but
to pull the plug is
the
very
way MS Dhoni, I would say he's still sticking on to his
is it his
franchise
last
and
IPL?
very difficult to say. For the last three IPLs, I mean, since 2020, we've been kind of talking about is this the last? But the man is fit and fine and ready when it comes, when IPL comes around. And most of the other times, he's not in the country or he's kind of he goes away, goes into oblivion. He's in Ranchi or in some unknown parts of the country. Uh, but come IPL, he's there because his franchise needs him. His owners are very clear. For as long as he's able to deliver the goods in whatever way,
Yeah.
he'll have to be there. So,
Yeah.
so that is so there is a big
But then apart from the commercial side of it, the cricket side of it
no.
needs to
So
be
what drives
fulfilled, right?
commerce? It is
Yeah.
the fan. It is the investment of the fans that drives the commerce.
Yeah, but for what I'm saying is, say for example, as a cricketer, I know my value, I know my brand value, and what I bring to the table commercially,
Hmm.
and I'm not really feeling 100% about my cricket. Then where do you make that
No, obviously,
transition?
when
What do you
no,
say
so
to the people in charge?
when that point comes when you feel that you can't give it anymore. So there was when MS Dhoni retired from Test, it was a very sudden decision. One day, very
Yeah,
sudden decision. Think about Adam Gilchrist, 2008. He dropped that catch of VVS Lakshman,
yeah,
98 Test matches. I mean, I don't know too many cricketers who at the who are on the brink of 100 tests would
yeah,
not play two more tests voluntarily. It was not that
yeah,
Gilchrist was getting dropped from the team. He
yeah.
drops that catch of Lakshman, and it's that level of honesty.
But for Dhoni, I'm sure it's a different story for Adam Gilchrist. But for Dhoni, what I feel is he was in a position of power in a sense. He had won everything, and he could just go out and say, "Look, this is my time. That is it. I'm out of here," and nobody is going to say anything to him. But it's not really the
I
same with
don't think
other
I
cricketers.
don't think internally he also feels that he's done. If he felt that he's done, because he's done the same thing for Team India, he
Yeah,
has let 1-1 format go.
yeah,
He hasn't stuck on to it uh, at any point when he felt that
yeah.
he couldn't go on any longer in the format. He let it go. So even with IPL, I think Dhoni is going to let it go the moment he feels that he's not ready, despite all the commercial pressures, despite all the external pressures. He will probably turn around and tell the powers that be, look, this is until
Yeah.
where I could service
Yeah.
you, not beyond. Maybe I'll have to look at a different role.
Hmm. Yeah. Talking about the new crop of talent that India is producing, and India has been producing talent every year, every month, every single day of the year. In this particular series, the T20I series against Australia, we saw the likes of Yashasvi making an impact. We saw Ruturaj Gaikwad play really well, scored 100. We saw Rinku Singh. He has been in great touch. He has been in great form. All these three players, they have been given a chance to be a part of the India South Africa series.
Even Akshay Patel, I thought he played very well.
He did, but he has been a part of the setup
Yeah.
for some time. So I'm not really including him in this conversation at this point. But I want to talk about these three players, and I want to understand whether India and the management is looking at these three players as someone who can be a part of the T20 World Cup, because like you said, Virat Kohli might not be playing the World Cup depending on fitness and other factors. A couple of other batters,
I think
especially,
so.
might not
I
be a part of
think
the
so,
T20 World Cup.
Dhamar. So 70-20
These three, do you feel they are going to be a part of that setup, or what should India do going ahead with these three players?
No, these three will definitely be in the reckoning The reason I say this is that there are only 7 T20s to go. If you leave aside the final T20 of the series, there will be 6 more.
Yeah.
So those are all the T20 internationals we
yeah.
will play before the World Cup. Of course, the IPL will be there, and that's a window when a lot of other players will, kind of be showing their skills. They will come up with a lot of brilliant performances, and IPL form, I would say, as much as people will take this to be a controversial statement. I will say that a man in form, I mean, the men in form will be picked.
From the IPL is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is IPL okay? So let me ask you this: Is IPL and your performance in the IPL a parameter for your selection in the national team now?
So, in many ways, I would say yes. I would also say
Are you going to overlook your people's form in the Ranji Trophy or the other tournaments?
Mushtaq Ali. No, I think the guys who are doing well in Mushtaq Ali will already be there in the IPL. They would have kind of created a case for themselves. Now, if you look at the current Indian team, who doesn't play? I mean, the T20 team, all of them plays IPL.
Yeah.
Now, sadly, Rinku Singh is in, thick of things. He's hit a purple patch. I mean, his purple patch has been continuing for long.
For 1.5, 2 years now.
Yeah. Now, suddenly, if, he hits a rough patch, he doesn't get runs, I mean, touch wood, it should not happen. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Then, at the end of 2.5 months IPL, do you think the selectors will consider him? I doubt.
Wow.
But then I don't see at some point the selectors also go by reputation. It's not entirely. I would say 50% performance of the IPL, 50% of what you have done before, and the kind of impact that you've created before. So I wouldn't say that any of them will get dropped because of bad performance in IPL or get picked because of good performance in IPL, but definitely good performance in IPL will give you that kind of acceleration towards making a cut for the World Cup.
So, my my understanding of how the team management is going to or should possibly go ahead with picking the team on picking a squad for the T20 World Cup is if I were in that position, what I would do is concentrate on a number of people that have already lined up. Say, for example, a Ruturaj Gaikwad or Yashasvi or Rinku Singh, and keep them in the team, irrespective of their form in the IPL. Because when you look at a number of these players who are playing in the IPL, they might do really, really well in the IPL, bat number 3 or bat number 4, and then they come to the national team. They're not allowed to bat at that position because you already have somebody else in that particular uh, position to bat, and then you don't really perform, and then you're out of the team, and then you have to make those changes, etc. So personally, I would say identify these people and identify their roles at this point, because 6 more T20 games, international games. So identify that, make sure that they are in the thick of the things and a part of that squad that is being considered for the T20 World Cup, and let them go ahead and play that World Cup irrespective of whatever happens in that World Cup. And we have seen that happening in the 2007 World Cup, remember, because we identify, look, these are the players I'm going to play I'm going to let these guys play in this particular format.
2007 was very different when we didn't have a legacy. We didn't have a legacy in T20 cricket. We did not know how the format will shape up. Everything was in the realm of unknown. So I don't think we can compare 2007 to too many other instances because it was purely experimental. So yes, it happened in 2007, but that doesn't mean that gives us a guarantee that it is going to happen.
Well, it happened in 2003. You lost the finals of the ODI World Cup. It happened again in 2023, and I mean, we keep going back to that World Cup final. I mean, there is.
So to sum up where we had started, whether this team is the team that you see today playing against Australia, having won a series. They are 4-0 up. They could very well go on to whitewash the They're,
3-1.
they're
They
three
won,
one.
yeah.
Sorry, they Australia won one. They're 3-1 up. Uh, Whether they go on to make it 4-1 or not, we'll have to see. But whether this will be the exact same team that will play in the World Cup, we don't yet know, because I still am convinced that a lot will depend on the IPL performances and the form they show
Yeah.
during the course of the 2.5 months.
Well, we'll have to wait till the IPL gets over. That is also going to be a hectic time for both of us, and a hectic time for all the people involved. Whether these are fans, whether these are people working behind the scenes, people working in sports, etc. It's just going to be hectic because that's
Even
the
if
kind
you
of
are making the fantasy teams, because at the moment of toss, you know where you need to be. I know where I need to be. So yes, all of us
all
have a
right.
job to do.
All of us have a job to do, and we did not really spend those 10 seconds in silence before uh, right at the start of this episode. I think we should
Why
do that.
silence anymore? Because India has won a series.
I don't know. I mean, winning a T20 series with a second string team
Come
and against a
on.
second
I mean,
string team. I
we're not
mean,
talking about Test cricket. What are you being purist about? ODI cricket and not winning a
no, no, no,
ODI
I'm
World Cup?
not being
Okay, we
not being purist about.
ODI purist.
No, no, not being purist about. Okay, it's just that when you see your team perform so well throughout the course of that World Cup, and then not go on to win that World Cup despite being the best team in the tournament, I mean that is going to hurt, and I think that is going to hurt for some time. Till the time India wins an ICC tournament, for me personally.
I don't know. I wouldn't really go on to put that much pressure on the point. The win will come. It's just about it's just about the moment, and I don't think uh, our talking, their preparation, them accelerating, not accelerating during the course of tournament, nothing will matter.
Of
What
course.
will matter is on the given day whether one, you know, one plays a Maxwellian knock or goes on to do something
Or we
spectacular.
just don't play Australia at all. That's also what we can think of. All right, this is it for this particular episode of The Silly Point. We'll be back next week again.